In the world of criminal investigation, there are cases that refuse to fade into history. Cases where every lead goes cold, every witness disappears, and the truth remains just out of reach. These aren't just unsolved mysteries, they're open wounds for the families left behind and puzzles that keep seasoned detectives awake at night. Today, we're counting down 5 murder cases that continue to haunt investigators in 2026. These are stories where justice hasn't been served, where killers may still walk free, and where one piece of evidence, one witness, could change everything. Before we begin, if you're interested in true crime and unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And stick around until the end, because case number 1 has a development from just last month that changes everything we thought we knew. Let's dive in. Our 5th case takes us back to February 2017 in Delphi, Indiana, but the story is far from over. 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German set out for a hike on the Monon High Bridge Trail on a mild winter day. They never came home. The next day, their bodies were discovered near the trail, and what should have been a straightforward investigation became one of America's most perplexing cases. But here's what made this case different. Liberty had the presence of mind to record her suspected killer on her phone. That grainy video and audio, a man's voice saying "down the hill," became both a blessing and a curse for investigators. They had evidence, but for years, it led nowhere. In 2022, Richard Allen was arrested and charged with the murders. Finally, closure seemed within reach. But as we sit here in 2026, Allen's trial has been delayed multiple times, mired in legal complications, defense motions, and procedural issues. Key evidence has been challenged. Witnesses have recanted or changed their testimonies. And here's what keeps investigators up at night. Some forensic experts have questioned whether the evidence truly ties Allen to the scene beyond reasonable doubt. Defense attorneys have suggested there may have been other suspects that weren't fully investigated. The bridge guy in Liberty's video remains somewhat disputed in terms of identification. Families of Abby and Libby have waited 9 years for justice. The question isn't just whether Richard Allen is guilty, it's whether this case will ever see a definitive conclusion, or whether it will remain trapped in legal purgatory forever. As of early 2026, a trial date has been set for later this year, but many are skeptical it will actually proceed. And if it doesn't, this case may haunt investigators for decades to come. Number 4 brings us to Long Island, New York, and a case that seemed to break wide open in 2023, but has since revealed far more questions than answers. Between 2010 and 2011, police searching for a missing woman named Shannon Gilbert stumbled upon something far more sinister along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. The remains of multiple victims, most of them sex workers, wrapped in burlap and discarded like trash. For over a decade, the Gilgo Beach killer remained unidentified. Then, in July 2023, architect Rex Heuermann was arrested and charged with multiple murders. DNA evidence, cell phone records, and witness testimonies seemed to build a solid case. The nightmare was over, right? Not quite. As we move through 2026, investigators face a haunting reality. Heuermann has only been charged with some of the Gilgo Beach murders. At least 10 sets of remains were found in that area, and investigators strongly suspect not all victims were killed by the same person. Some bodies showed different patterns, different disposal methods, different timelines. This means one of two things. Either Heuermann killed far more people than he's been charged with, or there's at least one more serial killer who has never been caught. The investigation has expanded to examine cold cases across multiple states. Heuermann's travel records, property searches, and digital footprint are being analyzed for connections to unsolved disappearances going back decades. But here's the terrifying part. Even with Heuermann in custody, women continue to go missing under similar circumstances in the Northeast. Is there a copycat, an accomplice who was never discovered, or an entirely separate killer who used the same hunting grounds? 3 years after Heuermann's arrest, investigators still don't have definitive answers about how many victims there truly are, or whether the real Gilgo Beach killer or killers have all been caught. And that uncertainty is what keeps this case very much alive in 2026. Case number 3 takes us to Midlothian, Texas, and a murder that was captured on video, yet remains completely unsolved a decade later. On April 18, 2016, fitness instructor Terry Missy Bevers arrived at Creekside Church of Christ at 4:18 a.m. to set up for her early morning fitness class. Someone was already inside, waiting. Security cameras captured everything, but somehow nothing at all. A figure dressed in full SWAT-style tactical gear wandered through the church, breaking windows and prying open doors. The gait was unusual, almost meandering. The behavior seemed almost performative, like someone killing time. Then Missy arrived, and the cameras in that area weren't recording. Missy was found dead, killed by multiple puncture wounds to her head and chest. The killer was never identified. Here's what makes this case so frustrating. Investigators have the murderer on video for nearly 10 minutes, yet they can't determine if the person is male or female, young or old, or even if that distinctive walk is genuine or staged. Forensic gait analysts have studied the footage frame by frame and can't agree. In 2026, this case still generates dozens of tips monthly. Internet sleuths have created elaborate theories involving everyone from Missy's husband to fellow fitness instructors to random burglars. But investigators have never named an official suspect. The tactical gear has never been found. No DNA was definitively recovered. The person on that video seemingly vanished into thin air after killing Missy Bevers in cold blood. What haunts investigators most? They know someone out there is watching this footage, seeing themselves on camera, and has gotten away with murder for 10 years. That person walks among us, and despite being captured on video, remains a ghost. Our second case technically isn't classified as a murder, but the evidence suggests Bryce Laspisa didn't simply disappear, and investigators increasingly believe foul play was involved. In August 2013, 19-year-old Bryce Laspisa was driving home to Orange County, California from Sierra College. His parents tracked his progress, but something was wrong. Bryce stopped responding to calls. He was acting erratically. His car was spotted multiple times in the same area, barely moving. Then on August 30th, Bryce's car was found overturned near Castaic Lake. His phone, wallet, and laptop were inside. Blood was found in the car and on the rear window, which had been broken from the inside, but Bryce himself, gone. The initial investigation treated this as a missing person case, perhaps a suicide. But here's what doesn't add up. Extensive searches of the lake and surrounding areas found nothing. No body, no additional evidence, no explanation for what happened after that crash. As years passed, investigators began to suspect something darker. The blood pattern suggested trauma before the crash, not from it. Witnesses reported seeing Bryce with unknown individuals the day before he disappeared. His behavior in those final hours, the erratic stops, the delayed journey, suggested he might have been under duress or influence. In 2024, the case was quietly reclassified, and in early 2026, the investigation has shifted focus toward potential homicide. Detectives are now looking at people Bryce may have met at college, debts he may have owed, and situations he may have been involved in that his parents knew nothing about. Karen and Michael Laspisa still search for their son, but investigators now believe they may be searching for a body and a killer who staged an accident to cover their tracks. Without concrete evidence, without witnesses, without even a crime scene they can definitively identify, this case remains in limbo. Is Bryce Laspisa alive somewhere, living under a new identity, or was he murdered 13 years ago and someone has gotten away with it ever since? As of 2026, nobody knows. And finally, our number one case, one that many believe was solved long ago, yet justice has never been served, and haunting questions remain. On December 6, 2009, Susan Powell disappeared from her West Valley City, Utah home. Her husband, Josh Powell, claimed he took their two young sons camping in the middle of winter, in freezing temperatures, in the middle of the night, and when he returned, Susan was simply gone. Nobody believed him. Not the police, not Susan's family, not the public. Evidence pointed overwhelmingly toward Josh. Susan's blood was found in their home. Josh's behavior was suspicious, and his story made no sense. But there wasn't enough to charge him. The case took an even darker turn. Josh's father, Susan Powell, was arrested for voyeurism and possession of child pornography, images that included Susan. The family's depravity ran deep. Then, in February 2012, during a supervised visit with his sons, Josh Powell murdered both children and killed himself in a planned explosion. The case is officially closed. Josh Powell is dead. He almost certainly murdered Susan. But here's what still haunts investigators in 2026. Susan's body has never been found. And last month, December 2025, a development changed everything. A hiker in rural Oregon discovered human remains in an abandoned mine shaft. Dental records are still being analyzed, but preliminary reports suggest the remains could be female, consistent with Susan's age and description, and have been there for approximately 15 years. If these remains are Susan Powell, it raises immediate questions. How did her body end up in Oregon, hundreds of miles from Utah? Did Josh have help? Was Stephen Powell more involved than anyone realized? And are there other individuals who participated in disposing of Susan's body and have never been held accountable? The Powell family took their secrets to the grave, but forensic technology in 2026 is far more advanced than it was in 2009. If these remains are identified as Susan, investigators will reopen the case, not to prosecute Josh, who is already dead, but to determine if anyone else participated in this crime. For 16 years, Susan Powell's family has grieved without closure. They may finally get answers, but those answers might reveal that the full truth has been buried far deeper than anyone imagined. These 5 cases represent just a fraction of the unsolved murders that continue to plague investigators in 2026. Each one is a reminder that sometimes the truth remains elusive, no matter how much evidence exists or how many years pass. But here's what keeps investigators going: advances in DNA technology, new witnesses coming forward, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Cases that seemed hopeless decades ago are being solved today. And perhaps one day, these 5 cases will move from unsolved to solved. What do you think happened in these cases? Do you have theories about who killed Missy Bevers or what happened to Bryce Laspisa? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime and unsolved mysteries. And if you want to help bring attention to these cases, share this video, because sometimes the right person seeing the right information is all it takes to break a case wide open. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.